What's up, YouTube? Zachary Michaels here. I'm an actor, and this is An Actor Reacts. Today, we'll be going over my top 10 albums of 2020. Let's get into it. Before we get started, if you're new to my channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. Okay, so my top 10 albums of 2020. Now, I am really excited to get into this list. Y'all know I'm a music lover. That's like 99% of this channel, but I really love like albums. There's just something so special about hearing a full body of work, especially when it's like super cohesive, and it's unique to the artist and they're kind of trying new things. And I really love it when the project tells a story throughout, and like each track is like a chapter in this book, and they're good individually but also work really well in the whole thing. Just a good album is just like chef's kiss. And I think I've got some really great projects on this list, so I'm excited to talk about them and maybe even expose them to some new people who hadn't heard them before, and you can find some new good music. But before we get into my official top 10, I've got 5 honorable mentions, so let's get into those. Coming in at number 5 on my honorable mentions list is a tie between Black, 6-Piece Hot, and Jordan Sparks Sounds Like Me, 2 EP, EP from each. But they each released those in 2020, and Black is my current favorite artist, and I've loved Jordan since I was a kid, so I was excited to hear new music from both of them this year. Now, honestly, both of these projects are not my favorite from the two of them, but I'm just such a fan. It's always good to hear new music from them, though I am looking forward to full-length projects from both of them in the future. My number 4 is the P-Valley soundtrack. This is rare because generally music that's made specifically for a TV show or that's like by characters in a show is kind of cheesy and bad, but I really like the music from P Valley, like all the Lil Murda songs, like cricket letter. I love his, like I immediately downloaded that soundtrack after, and I like the theme song. That show's just got some really good music. Plus, it's a great TV show. And just I would recommend it all. I'd recommend the show and listening to the soundtrack on your own time. Just some really good, like, is Mississippi in the South? Yeah, that's the South. I don't know where they at, but I think the show definitely takes place in the South. Just some real good like Southern hip hop. Just it's funny because it's a TV show soundtrack, but I really do enjoy that music. Coming in at number 3 on my honorable mentions is Big Sean's Detroit 2. I'm a Big Sean fan. He's definitely shown so much growth, especially with this project. Like, flow is on, lyrical content is on. He's like grown as a person and an artist. Just really great project. Not It's like in the middle of the pack for me when ranking his projects. Like the Detroit mixtape, the original, is one of my favorite projects from Sean, as well as Dark Sky Paradise. But Detroit 2, you definitely feel him like leveling up as an artist and a person, and really great production on that project. Though, like I said, not at the top of his stuff for me, but still really good. Number 2 on my honorable mentions is Ariana Grande with Positions. Ariana stepping more into her R&B bag. I really did enjoy this project. She's got some really, it's like on the album, why it's only on my honorable mentions is because she's got some like amazing songs on there. When it's like a hit, it's a hit. But then other songs I felt like they didn't quite, like they were like, oh, this is just kind of okay, this is kind of same old, and then the next track would be something out of this world, and then it'd be something like, okay, this is good, and then out of this world. So I did feel like, there were a few generic kind of songs on there that brought the project down a little bit, or else this definitely would have been in my top 10. But she's got some really great gems on there, so I would definitely still check it out. Real falling into her R&B bag, playing with her tone, like some neo soul on there. So yeah, that's my number 2 positions, Ariana Grande. And then my number one honorable mention is August Alsina, their Product 3 State of Emergency. August Alsina made a lot of headlines last year with all the Jada Pinkett Smith stuff. And, you know, that was interesting, but unfortunately, that kind of overshadowed the release of his album, which all happened around the same time. Like, I feel like it was like a publicity, not like only publicity, like, you know, he was speaking his truth, but it was happened and he was interviewing about that stuff to kind of promote his album. But the gossip kind of overshadowed the album, and it's unfortunate because I think it was a really solid project. He's got some really great songs in there. He does kind of talk about the Jada situation in the album, but it's just some really good music, and there is a good variety of other topics and stuff on there. Like, I love the songs that he dedicated to his nieces, and he gives like each of them a little verse. Just really some really good stuff on there. My only downside was it was way too long. Good songs, but I feel like it was like 20 something tracks, and it became a bit much. Like, I listened to that album in sessions. But other than that, it's a really great project. He just could have trimmed off a solid like third of that project. But yeah, those are my honorable mentions. So let's get into my official top 10. Okay, so my number 10 album of 2020 is Chromatica by Lady Gaga. Chromatica is the sixth studio album by Gaga, released on May 29th, 2020. Gaga and Blood Pop serve as the album's executive producers. It features guest vocals from Blackpink, Ariana Grande, and Elton John. 3 official singles were released to support the album: Stupid Love, Rain on Me with Ariana Grande, and 911. Chromatica debuted atop the Billboard 200 chart with 274,000 album equivalent units, marking Gaga's 6th consecutive number one album in the US. The album also topped the charts in several other countries, including Australia, France, Mexico, Ireland, Canada, Portugal, Italy, the Netherlands, Scotland, and the UK. The album was nominated for Best Pop Vocal Album, whilst Rain on Me won for Best Pop Duo or Group Performance at the 63rd Annual Grammy Awards. Okay, Chromatica. Now, I'm pretty sure that this is the first Lady Gaga project that I've heard in full. I obviously know who Lady Gaga is, and you know, I know the radio hits, but I don't think I'd ever listen to like a full body of work from her. But it came out in the middle of quarantine, so I was like, hey, why not listen to it? And I really ended up enjoying it. Which was a little bit of a surprise because I had heard Stupid Love when it came out. Wasn't the biggest fan of that track, though I did like it within the album. Then I heard Rain on Me. I liked that one with Ariana Grande, so I was just like, you know, maybe I like it, maybe I won't. And then I was also really surprised because it's kind of, the album is dance pop, EDM type music, and I'm not generally the biggest fan of that. I don't hate it, but I don't really usually go out of my way to listen to it. But I thought that this album just flowed together really well. Like, it flowed through each song seamlessly, and like the little interludes, the like orchestral arrangements of those and the way it flowed into the tracks, I thought that was just so seamless and beautiful. Just the construction of this album was really good and was what really made it enjoyable. It was maybe a little generic, I guess, because the EDM dance music, you kind of know what's gonna happen, what's gonna come, when the drop's gonna happen. So it's maybe a little predictable, I guess, in that aspect. But I didn't mind it because I felt like there was enough new things sprinkled in that made it interesting to listen to and not like boring or daunting. I also really loved the lyrical content of that song. It was kind of like medicine in the candy. Like the beats and stuff are real danceable and upbeat and like boom, 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 boom. But then you listen to the lyrics and she's talking about like, you know, bad relationships and kind of getting over that and like mental health issues, and like 911's about like depression and anxiety pills and stuff, and just it's like she's talking about kind of dark subject matter over these real danceable beats. So I really just like the contrast of that, and again just the overall composition of this album is what really made it into this top 10 list for me, because it all flowed so well, and that's like, again, one of my criteria for a really great album. My favorite track on this is Sign from Above featuring Elton John. Well, I don't even know if I'd say favorite track. I just looked it up. This is my most listened to song because it's really like the whole the album as a whole that I like to listen to. The I like to listen to it from start to finish, but this apparently is the song that I listen to individually the most. But yeah, so I give Chromatica by Lady Gaga an 8.5 out of 10. So now let's go on to my number 9. Number 9, we got Miss Toni Braxton with Spell My Name. Spell My Name is Toni Braxton's 10th studio album, released on August 28th, 2020. Toni had a big hand in the composition of the album, writing on the majority of the tracks and even producing some herself. In the US, the album debuted at number 163 on the Billboard 200, number 29 on the US Top Album Sales chart, and at number 21 on the US R&B Albums chart, while also reaching number 3 on the UK R&B Albums chart. Spell My Name spawned 3 singles, Do It, Dance, and Gotta Move On. Both Do It and Gotta Move On peaked at number 1 on the US Adult R&B Songs chart. Okay, Toni Braxton, Spell My Name. Just kind of like I said with Lady Gaga, I think Spell My Name is the first full project that I'd heard from Toni Braxton, and I loved it. I actually reacted to it a while back, so go check that reaction out if you haven't seen it yet. But Toni did her thing with this album. For one, her voice, her so good, and it is still in amazing shape. Now, almost 20 something years later, I think. Just really, really great. I love how deep and rich it is. Her tone is so beautiful, and it like reminds me of Anita Baker with how warm and soothing it is, and kind of sultry and sexy. I love the production on this album as well. Like it complemented her voice really well. And I think they did a nice job of taking classic Toni Braxton sound and updating it for 2020 and making her not feel like out of place, like it was still right in her pocket. There was one song, the one with Missy Elliott, that I didn't love. I think that was the like Do It remix. Didn't really love that one because it was kind of cringe, but other than that track, I loved all the songs. And I also loved how the album, it kind of felt like with the positioning or the progression of the album, it kind of felt like every song was better than the last. Like I'd be like, oh, I love this song because of this. And then the next song would take those same elements and amp it up even more. So just really, 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 really great songs on there. Again, except for that one with Missy Elliott. I love you, Missy. But my favorite song was Saturday Night. Really beautiful, like piano ballad. I love her vocals on that one. She's showing a little more range on there. I also love Toni's like phrasing on this song and throughout the album, but on this song, like the way she was like attacking the words. And then like the I really just love that part. Overall, that's a really great track. And then my rating for this project, when I did my reaction, I think I gave it a 9.25 out of 10. But now that more time has passed, I think I can bump that even more to a 9.5 out of 10. Miss Toni Braxton did her thing with this project. She still got it. Not that I ever doubted, but this was just a really great introduction to her as like my first full project. And I still do eventually plan to get into her earlier projects too. But yeah, that was my number 9. So let's get into number 8. Coming in at number 8, we got B by BTS. B is the 5th Korean language and overall 9th studio album by BTS, released on November 20th, 2020. The album was created in response to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and is inspired by the thoughts and feelings that BTS were experiencing during the conception of the project. The lead single, Life Goes On, debuted at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, becoming BTS's 3rd consecutive number 1 song in the US. B debuted at number 1 in 10 countries and attained top 5 positions in an additional 14. In the US, it became their 5th album to debut at number 1, making BTS the fastest group to earn 5 chart-topping albums since the Beatles. Additionally, each song from the album managed to chart simultaneously on the Hot 100, and they became the only act besides Taylor Swift to debut atop the Hot 100 and the Billboard 200 in the same tracking week. Okay, Now, just like the last two albums, this was the first full project that I'd heard from BTS, and I really enjoyed it. I also reacted to this one. Go check that reaction out if you haven't seen it yet. Now, I'll be the first to admit I was skeptical of BTS before I heard them. You know, you shouldn't judge something before you experience or whatever that saying is. But I was on the fence. And then I reacted to it for the channel. I reacted to a couple of their songs to the channel. And in this project, I can honestly say that now I am a fan of BTS. And I got to get into some more reactions of them because I haven't done them in a while. But they are really talented. They've got, I like their dark, moody music. And this project had some of that, which I loved. I thought it was just a really amazing time. Like each track was kind of an experience and had a certain feeling to it that I really loved. The skit, I didn't really know what was going on there, and I'm surprised that one charted too because it's just them like talking. But those BTS fans, they're hardcore, so I'm not really that surprised. But I loved every song and the experience that it gave me, and it was really fun. And like, it was in Korean, so I had no idea what they were saying, but it didn't really matter because the vibe was right. The vibe was there. I love the rappers in there. I'm pretty sure it's Suga who's my favorite. He killed it every song. Love the vocals. This isn't on the album, but love like their performances and their dancing and stuff. They're just a really good, entertaining group, and I see why they have such a big following. They're all really talented. Add something to the group. I loved all the different influences on this project. It was like funk, disco, soul, gospel, like acoustic pop, current hip hop, 90s hip hop, some EDM. Like, they brought in all these different sounds, and it didn't feel like out of place. Like, it still felt like it all worked within this project. So loved all the sounds that they had on this. And I think that's all I got. It was really cohesive, even though they had all those different sounds. My favorite track, if you watched my reaction, was easily Dis Ease. Like, they were going in with the 90s hip hop, and the rappers were going off, and then the way it transitioned in the chorus, and then back to the rapping. I just love everything about that track. It just makes me so like hyped and happy every time I hear it. So shout out to BTS. They really did their thing. I give B by BTS a 9.5 out of 10. Let's go on to the next one. Giveon is taking the number 7 spot on my list with his EP, When It's All Said and Done. When It's All Said and Done is the second EP by Giveon, released on October 2nd, 2020. The project was primarily written and produced by Giveon himself, with additional production and writing credits for Seven Thomas, Boy Wonder, Rodrigo Barahona, and more. The release was supported by one single, Stuck on You, which managed to peak at number 17 on the Hot R&B Songs chart. 2 additional tracks from the project, Still Your Best and Last Time featuring Snow Allegra, also managed to reach the Hot R&B Songs chart, peaking at numbers 22 and 25 respectively. When It's All Said and Done peaked at number 93 on the Billboard 200, 45 on the top R&B and hip hop albums chart, and number 9 on the R&B albums chart. When It's All Said and Done, another project that I reacted to on the channel. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. But I really enjoyed this project. I have become such a big fan of Giveon. And like, as soon as I heard him on Drake's song Chicago Freestyle, I was like pulled in. His voice is so deep, and he's got a really interesting tone, and I love the way he uses his voice. It's just very dark and moody, and y'all know I love moody music. I really liked his first EP too, Take Time. I didn't like love that one, but I really liked it, and that's the one that got all the attention. Like, he got Grammy nomination, and 2 songs off of that charted on the Hot 100. But for me, When It's All Said and Done was like top tier. I loved, like, it was like I mentioned, Loving a Story. This one was like a little compact story, only 4 songs, but it told like that journey after a breakup, or you kind of trying to come to terms with your feelings and everything. So I loved the little story that it had. I love like the little details in there, how like in the beginning, or the first song, you hear him put a cassette tape into like a player, and then the music starts. And then at the end of the last song, you hear the cassette tape being taken out. So I just love like little details like that. Super cohesive project. Dark and moody, which I loved. I thought his voice really shined on this. He knows how to make that perfect music for his like baritone range. There was no bad song. The only bad thing for me was that it was just too short. Like I love these two EPs, and he actually just combined the two EPs with a new song for like a full project. But I'm excited to hear like a full project of new songs from him, like a full album, hopefully coming this year. And so my favorite song in this project is the single "Stuck on You." Just such a good song. I think its tone really shines. I mean, honestly, it shines on the entire project, but especially on this song. Like he's playing with his range a little bit more. He's going up a little higher. He's really emoting on this one. Like you feel all the different emotions, like the desperation and the sadness, but like the oh but I love her, and like I can't let her go, and like the kind of embarrassment with like don't tell my friends because they gonna make fun, like I just love all the feeling that goes into that song. Also really love the music video for this one. Was super cinematic. Just really 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 great track. Really really good project too. My rating, I'm gonna stick with my 9 out of 10 that I gave it. My reaction, only reason I took that point off is because it's so short, but great songs. Love the cohesion of it all, and just chef's kiss to this project. If you don't know about Giveon, I would definitely recommend you listening to this project because I think it'd be a great introduction for him. Or better yet, watch my reaction of it and listen to it to the first time with me. But yeah, I think that's all I got on when it's all said and done. Giveon, really, really special. Again, I just need the full project. But let's get into my number 6. Shout out to all my Brandy fans. Now, I definitely cannot leave Miss Norwood nor this album off of this list. So my number 6 album of 2020 is B7. B7 is Brandy's 7th studio album, released on July 31st, 2020. The album was her first since 2012 to 11, as well as her first independent release on her own record label, Brand New Inc., in partnership with E1. The album was supported by 2 official singles, Baby Mama featuring Chance the Rapper, and Borderline. Brandy also later released a remix version of the album track No Tomorrow as a promotional single, which features Ty Dolla $ign. Love Again with Daniel Caesar from his second album, Case Study 01, was also included on the project. B7 debuted at number 12 on the US Billboard 200 chart, earning 25,000 album equivalent units in its first week. The album was nominated for Album of the Year at the 2020 Soul Train Awards and topped Rated R&B's Top 30 R&B Albums of 2020. Okay, B7. Definitely did a reaction to this one, so go check it out. Actually, the reaction that really started this channel, the last video of my first week on YouTube, and it blew up and really got the ball rolling with everything. So this album will always have a special place in my heart just because of that. And then it's just a really good project. I love, I love R&B. I love dark and moody music. I love like experimental kind of moody stuff that puts you in a trance. This album is all of that. Or that's like the first half of this album. It's kind of split in two halves. That first half is more real experimental, which I loved. All these kind of euphoric type sounds, really doing cool stuff vocally. And then the second half transitions into a little bit more aggressive and in your face. And I love both of them. I think this project's super cohesive. Great songs. I love Brandy, like not putting herself in a box, not like trying to do what everybody else is doing and just doing her own thing. Like all the experimental stuff on the first half, love it. The voice, like she has such great control over it. She does so many cool, like she uses all parts of her voice, not just like the big singing out. Like she has those moments, but she also has when she's just doing cool backgrounds or cool this and that. Like everything is so full in every song. It's always a real experience listening to Brandy, and y'all know I've become such a fan because I've gone through all of her albums. She's like the first one that I finished. Just really, really great album. Love hearing where Brandy is in 2020. Voice still like butter. Great songs, great production. Just I think a really good project from Brandy. Brandy don't miss when it comes to albums. There may be like a couple songs here and there that I don't like on different projects, but the full bodies of work, she knows how to do those. Like she's never lacking in that area. But yeah, that's those are my feelings on B7. It's a special project and always gonna have a special place in my heart. My favorite song is Borderline. It's funny too because Borderline wasn't even in my top three tracks when I reacted to the album. I think my number one was Bye Bipolar, but Borderline quickly went to the top for me. I just found myself going back and listening to it, and all like 6 minutes of that song I just like vibe out, and just the backgrounds and the leads and the lyrics and just the experience of that track is so good. Bye Bipolar is still cool too, but like I still listen to Borderline way more. So for my rating for this album, I give it a 9 out of 10. So let's go on to my number five. My number five album of 2020 is Limbo by Amine. Limbo is Amine's second studio album released on August 7th, 2020. The album features guest appearances from JID, Charlie Wilson, Young Thug, Slow Tie, Vince Staples, Summer Walker, and Injury Reserve. The album debuted at number 16 on the US Billboard 200 chart, earning 26,000 album equivalent units in its first week. Okay, Limbo. This is another album that I reacted to on the channel, so go check that one out as well if you haven't seen it yet. The funny thing with this one though is it was like maybe the second or third reaction that I'd done, so I hadn't fully adjusted, I think, to like reacting on camera to like an album or whatever. So I don't think that that reaction fully conveys how much I was enjoying the album, but I really loved it on my first listen. But with each subsequent listen, I like love it, love it, love it even more. Like it is like start to finish so good. Like there's not a single song on here that I do not like. I love the variety that the project has. Like there's some more slow, there's some like slower songs, there's some more introspective tracks, there's some like ratchet up tempos, there's like some hard hitting hip hop, there's such a mix of songs, but it's still super cohesive. And I think that this project too, it it takes like his first album, Good For You. That was a lot more like pop rap. And then the next project after that was the mixtape 1.5. That was a lot more like hard hitting hip hop type feeling. I think this project is like a mix of those two. So it takes the pop rap and the more hard hitting hip hop and mixes it together for this really great project. This is for sure my favorite album from Amine. And the first project that he released since I became a fan, because I started listening to him after Good For You and 1.5 were already out. So, you know, this was a great, like, a first official like album released from him. So I think that, you know, once I became a fan, he knew he had to step it up. But anyway, I just really love this project. Like, again, super cohesive. And he's just really talented. One, he just seems like a cool guy, so I like that. His personality is cool. And then, like, I think he's got a really interesting voice, and like both rapping and when he like sings, he says auto tune, but I think he's got a pretty decent tone. I really like his wordplay, the way he flows on songs. He also is really good at picking features. Like all of the features were perfect for the songs that they were on, and then they all elevated the songs as well. So like that's a talent in itself, knowing, like having that ear for music or knowing who to place where or what to place where. Just really, really great songs, great features, great production on this. Just really good overall. Again, not a bad song on the standard edition. My favorite track though, Pressure in My Palms, and now that one is reflected in my initial reaction as well. The first time I heard this song, I was like, this is it. I love the beat on that one. That's the best part for sure. That beat, that just how hard hitting it is. I think that was Pasquet who produced that one. Shout out to him or whoever produced that one. But then I love like Amine's like the like grit and attitude that he has on that record. Love the lyrics on that one. Love Vince okay, I said the beat, but it's Vince Staples and then the beat. Vince is for sure the highlight of that song for me. His verse, like I walk around singing his intro line. I hate him who think a baby finna keep it. Like I walk around just saying that line random times. Love that track. Love Vince's verse. Shout out to Slow Tie too. I don't generally like his verse is just so short that I don't really pay it that much attention. But you know he did his thing too. But just really really great song. The beat, Vince, Amine, just and shout out to the singer too that comes out in the second half. Just really really great track. I could talk about that song for days. But yeah, really really good album. So I give Limbo by Amine. I think I gave it a 9.5 out of 10 before, but over time I think this one is definitely a 10 out of 10 for me. Shout out to Amine. I'm excited for more people to get into him because he's definitely underrated. So let's go on to my number 4 album of 2020. The number 4 spot on my top 10 albums of 2020 list is going to another vet in the game, Miss Alicia Keys, for her album Alicia. This is Alicia Keys' 7th studio album, released on September 18th, 2020. Written and produced largely by Alicia herself, the album also features songwriting and production contributions from Swiss Beats, Ludwig Göransson, Rob Knox, Ed Sheeran, The Dream, and many others. In its first week, the album debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200 and became her 8th top 10 release in the US, while also charting in the top 10 in several other countries. Okay, and for the gajillionth time, I reacted to this album on the channel, so go check that reaction out if you haven't seen it yet. But this was such an amazing, amazing album. Another one that I love start to finish. There's not a bad song on here. I loved just the experience that this album was. Like, she takes you on the elements and all the different sounds and influences that she uses. Like, there's pop, there's like R&B, there's like world music, a lot of like world music feeling stuff. There's funk, there's reggae, there's kind of folky guitar banjo type music. It's like psychedelic at some points, like neo soul. She takes all these different influences and meshes them together so well for this super cohesive project. Another one, her voice still in amazing shape. I love the way she uses it on this project. What was I gonna say? The production on every single song is so good, as well as the songwriting. You know, it's a very inspirational album. It's a very uplifting album. It's a very like introspective album, and all those things can be cheesy if you do it the wrong way. But she did it the right way. It's like inspirational music. That's actually good, because sometimes it's like I'm gonna smile because it's a nice topic and I want to support what you're trying to do, but it's like the music isn't quite there, but it's there here. Like it's just so good, from the production to the lyrics to the vocals. Just I don't know if I have anything else to say. Just from beginning to end, so good. Let's see if I wrote anything else down. No, good messaging, vocals, how she's using her voice, backgrounds are great. I don't have anything bad to say. Like this album was 16 songs, which is a lot, could maybe be daunting, but I enjoyed every second of this project. And it was just, again, an amazing experience. Like, it took you on a journey, and I feel like that's when music really gets me, when it like, I'm like, oh, this is so euphoric here, and I'm just like floating in the sky, and then I'm just like real chill, and then I'm like sad, like she made me tear up on some song. Just like, shout out to Alicia Keys, another like I said, another vet, another legend, another one that still got it, especially with the production and writing as well. My favorite song, 3 Hour Drive featuring Sampha. Just so good for all the reasons that I just said. Like you feel the elements in that song. Like there's water dripping, there's this, there's that. It's just such a, like, you have to listen to it with headphones so you can hear all the different things going on in the background. Plus, Sampha's voice is just so special, and the two of them like mixing together so beautifully. I rate this album another 10 out of 10. So that's my number 4. Now we're into the top 3. That's very exciting. So let's get into the top 3. We are finally in the top 3. Coming in at number 3, we've got finally another album that I haven't already reacted to on the channel, No Future by Eden. This is the second studio album by Irish musician Eden, released on February 14th, 2020. The album was both written and produced solely by Eden and features 19 tracks, including the 4 singles, Untitled, Projector, Love, Death, Distraction, and Ishahel. No Future peaked at number 26 on both the Canadian albums chart and on the Billboard 200 in the US. The album also reached number 5 on the Billboard Current Sales chart and number 4 on the Alternative Albums chart. Okay, so on the channel, I primarily react to R&B music and then hip hop, and there's some like pop top 40 music sprinkled in there as well. And that's probably what I primarily listen to outside of the channel too. But the other genre that I really love and listen to that I don't really talk about as much is like indie, alternative, like singer-songwriter type music. Honestly, genre doesn't really matter to me. It just depends if the music kind of checks the boxes of what I'm looking for. And, this album, No Future by Eden, definitely checks all my boxes. This is like it's really moody. Y'all know I love moody music. His music is kind of angsty and just raw and real. It's like existential almost. Existential, like sad boy, emo type stuff. Like that kind of sound mixed with really cool kind of electronic production. And he uses a lot of different kind of sounds and stuff that you wouldn't really expect. Like some of his songs have really like an industrial feel almost. And his music as well, it gives me kind of a cinematic presence. Not like cinematic like big blockbuster, but like cinematic is like an A24 true to life coming of age story, and I love those kind of movies. So this album, it just fits my aesthetic of the things that I love really well. And it just kind of transports you with its vibe, and again the production. And I'm just finding out too that he does all the production and stuff himself. That makes me appreciate the music even more, knowing that he's putting all this uniqueness into it himself. Like even the songs that are a little more subtle or guitar led, there's still so many like different details in the background, just little things that like when you're listening with the headphones and you're like, oh wow, I didn't even hear that before, or like he'll have like birds chirping in a song, and it's just like it feels like so like a breath of fresh air. And just again different unconventional sounds, and just really raw and great instrumentation throughout the music as well. And then I also really like his voice and his natural tone. He's not like a crazy big vocalist, but like he's got a super strong falsetto, and the way that he sings works so well with the like emo sad boy raw feel of the music. Plus, like I mentioned, him using production effects and stuff in the sounds. He uses sometimes them on his voice, and it's never like overwhelming, like stop with the auto tune, but it's just enough to amp the song up that much more. He uses it in select spots too, so it's not like overwhelming. And then, I put this album on when I just want to chill and relax and decompress. It's just really great start to finish, and it flows so well. Like it seamlessly flows through. So y'all know I love cohesion. Y'all know I love moody music. Y'all know I love great lyrics and vocals. And I love when artists can be different and new and carve out their own lane. And I feel like with this album, No Future, Eden definitely does that. And I didn't really even know much about him until I was doing this write-up. Like I discovered him on Apple Music when his first album came out in 2018. They like randomly recommended one of the songs to me, listened to that, then listened to the whole project, and had it on repeat for the past 2 years. And then last year I was like, wonder if he's released anything else. Found out about this No Future album, loved it just as much as his first. I definitely recommend you getting to Eden if you like indie kind of alternative music. And even if you don't and you just want to maybe try something new, I would definitely recommend his music because it's just really good, especially if you have similar taste to mine. I think you'll definitely enjoy it. Now let's get into my favorite tracks. Since we're in the top 3 now, I'm gonna give you my top 3 tracks that I enjoyed from the project, except for this one because I have my top 3, but I also have an honorable mention, and I thought it was fair to include an honorable mention, since I haven't reacted to this album on the channel. So my honorable mention is called "Just Saying." Really interesting production on this one. It's kind of disorienting, and it's almost like it's that moody emo music that I was saying, but it's almost like a video game is part of the production as well in the background. Really just interesting track. So now into my official top 3. Number 3, I got a song, funnily enough, called 2020. And it's that like peak sad boy emo music, everything that I was just saying before. And then halfway through, it kind of switches up to this more kind of danceable EDM kind of record too, which was an interesting switch. It got really danceable, but like hectic and crazy, like still following really well with the what the song's about, because the song, again, funnily enough, is about being in this kind of craziness and not really understanding it while you're in it until it's past. And that kind of was the year 2020. Like it would start off really sad with everybody being on lockdown and stuff, and then in the middle things just got really crazy with all the protests and people going crazy, being trapped at home for so long. And then at the end of both the song and in the real year 2020, things kind of wind back down into this sadness and maybe kind of a hopeful future. And so I just loved how this song kind of just represented 2020 and the emotional journey of it. And then it's just by itself a really good track. My number 2 is 4 question marks that I looked up online, and is apparently pronounced going, but the title on Apple Music is just like 4 question marks. This song is about letting go of a toxic person because they're driving you crazy, and then that kind of just freeing you up. In the song, I mentioned the album being like sad boy emo, but this song's a little different. It's a little more happy. It's a little more upbeat. It's a little more carefree because you just let go of that baggage and that person that was kind of holding you back and driving you crazy. So I really like kind of the switch up of this track as in comparison to the rest of the album. It doesn't feel out of place. It actually feels, like a progression of the sound. And I love like old school soft rock R&B music, and I feel like this song relies a little bit more on that, less like acoustic emo boy and more a little more like soft rock 80s kind of R&B vibe. So I really enjoyed that and the different instrumentation that it used to evoke that sound. And then my number 1 track of this album is called So Far So Good. For starters, this track transitions so seamlessly from the previous track, FOMO, like it just flows into it. But that's most of the album, but I especially noticed it on this one. I love how beautiful this song is, but while also being like really eerie at the same time. And again, the cinematic feel and the weird production of it. Like this is one that has kind of almost industrial sounds in there, which doesn't sound like it would work, but it does so well, because this song is about like withdrawal from a relationship, like emotionally and physically, and how that impacts you similarly to like drug withdrawal, and like the sweating and you can't sleep, and like you're shaking, like all those things because you just want that person or you just want that drug, and how the two things are similar. And it captures that angst so well that it's like eargasmic to listen to almost. It's just really, really great track. Again, great lyrics, production, the vocals, again, just like I really like his natural tone, and the way that this song transports you is just so good. So those are my top 3 tracks of this project. And then I rate this project easily a 10 out of 10. Again, I would recommend if you like indie alternative music, or if you even just want to try something new and hear something that's not what you would normally listen to, but that's really good and deep lyrics and tells stories, and just something that's gonna transport you, that you can also just like sit back and relax to and just let it take over you. Really, really great project. Maybe I'll react to it, or Eden in the future on the channel, because I think people would really enjoy him. And I don't think many people do know about him, but he's really talented. But yeah, that's all I got on No Future by Eden. Great album. So let's get into my number 2 spot. We are in the number 2 spot now. And funnily enough, my number 2 spot goes to the duo Chloe and Halle for their second studio album, Ungodly Hour. 222. Chloe and Halle honestly are probably my current favorite like duo, or not even just duo, like group overall. Like they have been killing it. Ungodly Hour was released on June 12th, 2020. The duo co-wrote all of the tracks on Ungodly Hour, with Chloe helping produce a majority of the tracks and even producing a few herself. It also features production from Soundwave, Jake One, Scott Storch, Abaddon, Disclosure, Jeff Gittleman, Nasri, Mike Will Made It, Plus, Royal Z, Esoteric, Boy Wonder, Vinyls, and more, as well as songwriting from prominent songwriters Nia Charles and Victoria Monet. The album debuted at number 16 on the Billboard 200 chart with 24,000 album equivalent units, marking their highest charting album to date. On February 26, 2021, a reissue of the album, the Chrome Edition, was released featuring 2 new songs, Hazy and 8020. The album was nominated for Album of the Year at the 2020 Soul Train Awards, and also for Best Progressive R&B Album at the 63rd Annual Grammy Awards, among other nominations. Like I just mentioned, Chloe and Halle are for sure my current favorite duo or group. Like, every time I see something from them, they just absolutely kill it. And it's so funny for me to be saying that now, because prior to starting the channel, I had honestly paid Chloe and Halle dust. I'd seen people talking about their album and how great they were on Twitter and stuff, but I never really thought, I guess, that it would be for me or up my lane, but boy, was I wrong. My first reaction to them was their VMAs performance, and since then, I've been so sucked in. Especially when I reacted to this album. It was just put together so well. One, their voice is so beautiful, the range that they have, and I love the kind of differences that they bring to the group. Like Chloe brings a little more grittiness and roughness and runs and stuff, and Halle brings like this sweet kind of angelic, and those high notes. Her head voice is exquisite, and those two things come together. It just makes for such a full sound. They're both so talented, and I love them coming together because it feels so right, you know. This album was just such a great body of work from beginning to end. Every song was just so good, and I love like the progression of the album, how it felt kind of like we were building a little story, like each song kind of built on the last. Like it just made for this really complete journey. And like I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, I love projects that feel like a story is being told, and that feel like a full body of work and not just a collection of singles. And this definitely is that to a T. They did their thing, and it's not just the talent that really impresses me with them, but the passion that they put into the music and their performances and stuff. And you can tell they have a really strong work ethic, and that makes me appreciate them in this album, and and their like whole body of work even more. What else? Oh, I loved the production throughout. Shout out to Chloe and all the other producers, like really innovative and experimental, and they showed their versatility really well, as like they paid homage to a lot of different sounds and stuff, like different R&B sounds and like the Motown kind of sound or futuristic, but like they paid homage to a lot of sounds, but also brought them into 2020 and injected their own kind of style into it. So I really love that. Like they pay homage but also like made it their own. Like we love this, but here's our version of it. So I love that, like them making their own lane with this album. What else? Oh, you know, I love moody R&B. This is like moody R&B with like an experimental twist. And I loved as well the maturity in their music and how strong and confident there is, and how sexual as well, without like they can be all those things without feeling like they're putting on. Like it just feels so authentic and real, which I love. Just all of it really great. Amazing vocals, amazing production, amazing layout of the album and progression of it. Just again, a really great body of work, and I just can't wait to see what else they do in the future. I'm excited for their next album whenever that happens, even though I feel like it maybe won't be for a while since Chloe's doing uh, Little Mermaid right now, which, you know, I'm sure that's gonna be great. Like I said, she has that angelic voice, and that as a Disney princess, like, mwah, chef's kiss. Like I'm sure that's gonna be amazing. But the vocals, production, this their own unique sound, how experimental it was, it just they check all the boxes with this album. Now let's get into my favorite songs. Coming in at number 3, I got "Don't Make It Harder on Me." Speaking of, you know, paying homage, I love the throwback Motown feel of this song. It gets me in that groove, and I love the lyrics too. Like, you know, don't make it harder on me. Like we're done. I can't. You making me second guess this relationship that I'm in now. So I just love the lyrical content and just the groove and classic R&B feel of that one. Which again, them making it kind of their own at the same time. My number 2 is "Wonder What She Thinks of Me." So good. I think when I reacted to the album, this was my top song. But it's dropped down to number 2 now, but it's still so good. Like such an amazing side chick anthem. Like I said before, the saddest side chick anthem that I've ever heard, but so good. And I love like Halle starting this song off with the vibe of this song, like Chloe's high pitched voice with the more depressing kind of strings and stuff. It starts off, it pulls you in immediately. And Chloe did her thing on this one as well with, you know, the high notes and everything. But I think Halle paired with that the strings and stuff starting it off was just so immaculate, and it's just so sad and beautiful. And this that song was got its own Grammy nomination too, I believe, and rightfully so. It maybe should have even won. I shouldn't say that. I don't know what else was nominated in the category, but that song was just so good. At least it got the nomination. Too good. And then my number 1 track, which wasn't my number 1 when I reacted to the album, but it is now, is "Forgive Me." I don't know what it is about this song, the attitude that Chloe has, the production of it, just the grit of it, like just how tough this song is. It has lasted with me while after I first listened to the album, and this is a song that I find myself always going back to or humming or just like just thinking about sometimes. You know, it's just I love the swag that it has. And again, that grittiness that Chloe brings to this track. And again, Halle also did her thing on this track too, but you know, Chloe was the highlight of this one for me, just like Halle was the highlight of "Wonder What She Thinks of Me." They both just bring something so special and unique, and together they are just great. I think that's all I got for Ungodly Hour. But my rating of this is easily a 10 out of 10. I know when I reacted to it before, I was like, I guess a 9.5 out of 10. Because I was like, I can't give it a 10 out of 10. Because, like, this is the first album I'm hearing from them. But forget that. This album is a 10 out of 10. They did their thing. I think there was maybe only one song that I didn't one or two songs that I maybe didn't love. But even then, like this, when you're thinking about the whole body of work, this is easily a 10 out of 10, from the production to the vocals to them. Again, just carving out their own lane and their own sound. Just so immaculate. But that's my number 2 album. So now just one album left. My top album of 2020? Let's get into it. So my number one album of 2020 is easily After Hours by The Weeknd. After Hours is The Weeknd's fourth studio album released on March 20th, 2020. It was written and produced primarily by The Weeknd, along with a variety of producers such as Dahila, Elangelo, Max Martin, Metro Boomin, and OPN. The album was supported by four singles: Heartless, Blinding Lights, In Your Eyes, and Save Your Tears. All four singles reached the top 20 on the US Billboard Hot 100 and received platinum certifications, with the first two singles also topping the chart. Blinding Lights became The Weeknd's most successful single worldwide and currently holds the record for most weeks spent in the top 5 and top 10 of the Hot 100. It also became the first song in Billboard history to hold a spot in the top 10 for an entire year. After Hours debuted at the number one spot on the Billboard 200, selling 444,000 album equivalent units in its first week. The album stayed atop the chart for 4 consecutive weeks and became The Weeknd's fourth number one project in the US. It also reached the top spot in 20 other countries, including Canada and the United Kingdom. After Hours was the fourth best-selling album of 2020 and was certified double platinum, selling over 2 million album equivalent units in the United States. Okay, now this is another one that I haven't reacted to on the channel yet, but I do actually plan on reacting to it. I said I was going to do it for like the 1 year anniversary. That's passed a little bit now, but I'm still going to try to do that reaction soon. So I'm going to try to keep my thoughts here a little brief so I can expand on that more in the reaction. But obviously, since it's my number one album of 2020, needless to say, I loved this project. Now, if you watched any other of my weekend reactions, you know that After Hours was the first full project that I'd heard from him, and I was immediately pulled in. I knew radio hits and stuff, but this album came out like 2 weeks or so after quarantine started, so I had nothing but time and figured, hey, why not listen? And it was so good. Like, from beginning to end, there's not a single bad song. Now, of course, there are a few songs that I listen to less than others, but the entire project from beginning to end, no skips. No skips. And kind of like how I was saying with Chloe and Halle, this album is a full body of work and it takes you on a journey. It paints a picture. Like, I can close my eyes and like the music puts me in this kind of mood where I can see everything. It's so cinematic feeling. Like, it feels like this is the score of a movie, and that's really what I love about him. Plus, y'all know I love dark and moody music, and this album is definitely that. It's super dark. After Hours is a perfect title. It just feels like late night. I love his attention to detail that he puts into the music and the production and the vocals and the lyrics. Like, it all, again, just paints this picture so well. And I also love like with the music videos, how he has a storyline going throughout. Like, that attention to detail is what I really appreciate in artists, when they take the time to make this overarching journey, and not just in the music videos, but continuing that in the live performances and all the other little things like that. That's when an artist like loves what they do and put their everything into the work, and somehow don't get nominated for any Grammys. I'm still salty about that. I know he said he doesn't care, but I care. This album was one of the best of 2020, and to get 0 nominations, 0, makes no sense to me, but whatever. What else was I gonna say? I love like the 80s synths in throughout this project. Now, like I said, I knew the radio hits, and I have now since listened to his mixtapes, and it feels like with this project, he took like that mixtape sound, and he took like the the more commercial radio sound that he has, mixed them together, added in some like kind of 80s nostalgia, and came out this perfect project that is After Hours. It's just so good. Anything else that I want to say? Amazing cinematic. It takes you on a journey. Love the sound. 80 cents, the music videos. Oh, and then this album just really got me through quarantine. And I'm really excited to react to it on the channel because I've tried anytime the songs like pop up on shuffle recently, I've been skipping them so I can kind of hear the whole thing fresh again when I react to it. So be on the lookout for that. But now let's get into my favorite tracks. And again, I'm not going to go into too much detail because I want to save my expanded thoughts for the reaction. But my top three tracks: number three, I got "In Your Eyes." Number two, I got "Hardest to Love." And number one, I got "Escape from LA." And again, if you watched any of my weekend reactions, you know that "Escape from LA," I've mentioned that, loving that track. And it's so good. And spoiler, kind of, this track does appear on my top songs of 2020 as well. And so I'll talk about that more there. But just this whole album is immaculate, from the production to the vocals to the lyrics to the painting the picture to the attention to detail and the songs and the performances and the music videos. Like, I respect him so much as an artist and a creative, and I'm so excited to keep going down my weekend journey. But even if I would have hated the mixtapes or any other weekend stuff that I'd reacted to, After Hours alone was enough for me to at least be like a casual fan, because that man is talented. But okay, that's all I got on After Hours, my number one album of 2020. Oh wait, no, that's not all I got. My rating for it: 11 out of 10. It's better than just a 10 out of 10. 11 out of 10, because he takes it to the next level again with all the little details that he puts in there. But okay, now that's all I got on my number one album of 2020, After Hours by The Weeknd. Just so good. And that's the final one on my list of 2020 albums. So let's get into my final thoughts, and I'll give you my overarching ideas as well as a couple throwback projects that I really enjoyed listening to for the first time in 2020. So let's get into it. Okay, y'all, thank you for watching. This was my top 10 albums of 2020, as well as a few honorable mentions. And I just really love putting this video together because, like I said at the beginning, I just love albums. I love a full body of work. I would take an album over a single any day. And I will say though that in putting this list together, I did find, like, I think there was a lot of good music in 2020, but I feel like it was a lot more really quality singles than there were like really great quality albums. Like, there were some albums that I thought were good, but not as many that were like blowing me away, you know? And maybe that's just because less people were releasing albums in 2020 because of, the pandemic and such. So I hope in 2021 we get back to releasing really great quality projects. And again, this is just of the albums that I've heard, because I know there are some albums that people mentioned it being really great that I just never got around to listening to. But out of the ones that I heard, I feel like there was less really great quality albums than in previous years. And I hope that's not because we just don't value albums as much anymore. For now, I'm just going to blame it on the pandemic, and we'll see how 2021 shapes out. But quick recap of my honorable mentions and my top 10 list. My 5 honorable mentions. At number 5, I had a tie between 6 Piece Hot and Sounds Like Me by Black and Jordan Sparks. My number 4 honorable mention was the P Valley soundtrack. Number 3 was Big Sean, Detroit 2. Number 2 was Ariana Grande, Positions. And number 1 was August Alsina, The Product 3, State of Emergency. Now, a recap of my top 10. We had number 10, Lady Gaga, Chromatica. Number 9, Tony Braxton, Spell My Name. Number 8, B by BTS. Number 7, When It's All Said and Done, Giveon. Number 6, B7 by Brandy. Number 5, Limbo by Amine. Number 4, Alicia by Alicia Keys. Number 3, No Future by Eden. Number 2, Ungodly Hour by Chloe and Halle. And number 1, After Hours by The Weeknd. all really, really great projects. If you haven't heard any of them, definitely go check them out. If you haven't seen my reactions to the ones that I've reacted to, definitely go check that out as well. And now get into some throwbacks. Y'all know I do so much throwback stuff on this channel, so I had to highlight some throwback albums that I heard for the first time in 2020 that weren't necessarily released in 2020. So number 3 throwback album, I got Mariah Carey's debut album. Mariah went off on this. I thought when I started reacting to her that all her early music was going to be like big ballads, you know, pop power ballads, slow stuff. But when I reacted to this album, I was so uh, impressed and kind of thrown off, I guess, at how versatile it was. Like, she had some big ballads, but she had such a great variety on that album. She had R&B, she had hip hop, she had some big pop power ballads. She just had so many different sounds going on in there that I was like, wow, like that is how you do a debut album. Stepping into the game, showing all that you can do, saying, I'm not a one-trick pony. Here's a showcase of many of the things that I can do. My number 2 was a tie between Brandy's Aphrodisiac and Never Say Never. 2 really great projects from Brandy. One of my favorite parts of starting this channel was going through her discography, and those 2 albums especially, I thought, both of them, I said when I listened to them, like, wow, on first listen, both of these projects are so digestible, and like, wow, you can immediately say this is a really good album. So I love that, and seeing like her progression between the 2 and the way she grew as an artist. 2 just really great projects. Shout out to Brandy. And then my number 1 throwback album was House of Balloons by The Weeknd. So he got my number 1 throwback album and my number 1 album of 2020. House of Balloons, I was really impressed, kind of with the same thing I was just saying with Mariah. For the first project that he released, I thought it was so good, especially at like 20 years old, to be so innovative with his sound. Like, I don't remember anything else in 2011 sounding like that. So him carving his own lane, and y'all know I love moody R&B, and his music painting such a great picture. Really, really great. If you haven't seen any of my reactions to any of these, I definitely say go check them out. And I guess I'll do a quick recap of my throwback albums as well. We got Mariah Carey's debut album at number 3, Brandy Aphrodisiac and Never Say Never at number 2, and then The Weeknd House of Balloons at number 1. Yeah, now that is all that I got for this video. Thank y'all for hanging in there with me. This video is probably going to be way longer than I was expecting it to be, but y'all know I love to talk. I'm very long-winded. Leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on any of the albums I mentioned. Let me know what your top 10 albums of 2020 are. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. And I think this video will be out after I've already started my Patreon. So if it is out, definitely go check out my Patreon and subscribe for exclusive videos and early content. Link will be in the description box if it is out already. And if not, you know, be on the lookout for my Patreon. But thanks for stopping by. See y'all next time.